Why did Samsung stop trying so hard? Scroll through the comments on almost any Samsung video online, and you'll see the same questions coming up over and over. Remember when Samsung phones used to have literally every feature imaginable? Whatever happened to the iris scanner, and did anyone actually miss it? Why did Samsung phones used to feel so cluttered compared to now? Is One UI actually better, or did we all just get used to it? Those questions keep showing up because people genuinely aren't sure how to answer them. So let's actually answer them. Samsung's strategy for making phones was basically throwing every single feature at the wall to see what stuck. Removable plastic backs, curved edge screens, iris scanners, heart rate sensors. If an engineer could code it, it made it onto the phone. But if you look at Samsung today, things feel completely different. The crazy gimmicks are gone, and the focus has shifted. But that raises a massive question. Has Samsung actually gotten better over time, or have they just gotten boring? The kitchen sink era. Go back and look at a Galaxy S phone from the early 2000s, and it's almost comical how much Samsung crammed into one device. Heart rate sensors nobody used more than once. An iris scanner that unlocked your phone by scanning your eyeball, mostly because they could. A plastic back that felt cheap but let you swap the battery, which sounds great until you realize most people never actually did. This was Samsung in engineering first mode, building whatever was technically possible and letting the market sort out what mattered. Some of it stuck. Most of it quietly disappeared a generation or two later. Now compare that to the Galaxy S26 Ultra. No iris scanner, no heart rate sensor bolted onto the back. Instead, one standout feature that solves a real problem, a built-in privacy display that limits who can see your screen from the side, automatically triggered when you're entering a password. One genuinely useful idea instead of 10 half-baked ones. The design that finally grew up. For years, Samsung's phones felt designed by committee. Different textures, different button layouts, plastic that scratched if you looked at it wrong. Around the Galaxy S6, something shifted. Metal frames, glass backs, a design language that finally felt intentional rather than assembled, and build quality stopped being an afterthought. The S26 Ultra takes that further. It's Samsung's slimmest and lightest Ultra yet, with a camera housing that flows directly into the body instead of sitting on top like an add-on. What used to look assembled from parts now looks designed as one single object. The software everyone loved to hate. If one thing held Samsung back the longest, it wasn't the hardware. It was the software on top of it. TouchWiz and later Samsung Experience was cluttered, sluggish, and packed with duplicate apps nobody asked for. 2 app stores, 2 messaging apps, 2 of everything. Then Samsung introduced One UI, a genuinely different philosophy, simplified and finally consistent update-wise across devices. It took the better part of a decade, but software stopped being the asterisk next to Samsung's strong hardware. The S26 Ultra runs One UI 8.5 on Android 16, with 7 major Android version upgrades promised on top. Compare that to the TouchWiz era, when updates felt like a favor Samsung occasionally did you. The camera race that never stopped. Samsung's camera evolution tells its own story about restraint. Early on, more megapixels was the entire pitch sensors that sounded impressive on paper, but didn't always mean better photos. Over time, the marketing shifted from how many megapixels to how good is the actual photo, with real investment in low-light performance and computational photography. The S26 Ultra's camera reflects that maturity. A 200 megapixel main sensor, a 50 megapixel telephoto with true 5 times optical zoom, a 50 megapixel ultra-wide, and AI-powered photo assist. The big number is still there, but now it's backed by actual hardware, not just a spec built to win an argument in a phone shop, the bet that could have failed completely. Then there's the foldables. When Samsung first announced a phone that folded in half, plenty assumed it was another gimmick. Early units famously had screen durability issues that delayed the launch and became a genuine embarrassment. But instead of quietly killing the idea, Samsung kept iterating, fixing the hinge, the display, the price, generation after generation. Foldables went from, "Why would anyone want this?" to a legitimate category other manufacturers now race to copy. That same iterate until it works discipline shows up on the S26 Ultra's charging, jumping from 45 watts up to 60 watts. Small and unglamorous, but exactly the kind of quiet refinement Samsung wouldn't have bothered with back when the strategy was about grabbing headlines instead of shaving minutes off a charge. Why things feel quieter now? Samsung's newest phones don't have iris scanners or heart rate sensors bolted on for the spec sheet. The AI features being added now are more restrained too, built around actual daily usefulness rather than novelty. To some, that reads as boring. To others, it reads as a company that finally figured out the difference between adding a feature and adding value. The S26 Ultra sums it up. Its headline feature isn't a gimmick sensor, it's privacy display, solving a real everyday annoyance instead of chasing something flashier. So, has Samsung actually gotten better, or did they just get boring? Both, and that's not really a contradiction. The wild experimentation era gave them the data and failures needed to figure out what people actually wanted. The design overhaul taught them build quality matters more than a feature list. The software mess taught them simplicity is its own feature. And the foldables taught them a good idea is worth defending even after a public failure. Look at the Galaxy S26 Ultra next to any of those early kitchen sink Galaxy phones, and it's obvious which company actually learned something. That's not boring. That's what actually growing up looks like.